That security guard standing between you and the exit, one hand raised toward your bag, he can't actually make you do that. Not legally. Not without crossing a line that turns him into the one breaking the law. I know that feeling, though. The guard steps in front of you. Your stomach drops. You didn't even do anything, and somehow you feel guilty anyway. So you start unzipping the bag, because that seems easier than the alternative. By the end of this, you'll know exactly when to say no, when to wait, and when the guard becomes the one crossing the line. That's the moment everything flips in your favor. Let me set the scene. You're walking out, bags in hand, receipt crumpled somewhere in a pocket, who knows? And a guy in a yellow vest steps in front of the sliding doors. And I need to see what's in that bag. And most people, honest people, people who paid for everything, freeze on the spot and comply. They open the bag. They follow him to the little back room. They hand over their ID. Here's the thing they never figured out. That guard is not a cop. He has a badge pinned to his chest that means nothing. No arrest power that a regular person walking by doesn't also have. Legally, he's a private citizen in a costume that's very good at one job. So what can he do? Because it's not nothing. There's an actual rule here. Lawyers call it shopkeeper's privilege. Sounds fancy on paper. It isn't. Think of it like a museum guard who watches you slip a tiny marble statue into your coat. Most of the country says the store gets a small, temporary window to sort that out before the cops arrive. Not a blank check, a window. The details vary by state, but the basic idea is usually the same. Suspicion, time, and manner all have to be reasonable. So picture that window framed by 3 walls. Reasonable suspicion, reasonable time, reasonable manner. Reasonable suspicion means he can't just grab random shoppers. He needs an actual reason to think you took something, like he watched you pocket it on camera. Reasonable time means a few minutes on the clock, not an interrogation that ruins your evening. Reasonable manner means he can ask, not tackle, not lock you in a closet. So yes, he can ask you to wait. He can pick up the phone and call police. And he can ban you from the store forever. That's trespassing you, and it's completely his right. That's the whole list of his real power. Ask, call, ban. Now buckle up, because here's the part that sounds made up. He cannot search you. Not your bag, not your pockets, not your purse. Not without you saying yes. That guy in the vest reaching for your backpack? If you didn't hand it over, he's a stranger's hand digging into your stuff. A store uniform isn't a search warrant. It's a store uniform. He's betting you'll hear, "I need to see your bag," and translate it into, "I'm legally required to show him." Those are 2 completely different sentences. He said the first one. Your brain heard the second. That gap between what he says and what you hear, that's the entire business model. Let me make this concrete. You're standing there, frozen. He's holding out his open palm for the bag. And the magic words you never knew you had are simply this: I don't consent to a search. Because that's all it ever was. An invitation dressed up as a command. This is where people accidentally hand over their rights, because the next thing he can't do trips them up the most. He cannot physically stop you from leaving, not with force. The second he grabs your arm, blocks the door with his body, or locks you in that back room with no real reason, he just committed something the law calls false imprisonment. Picture it like this. Imagine a stranger at the mall clamps onto your wrist and says, "You're not going anywhere." You'd call that assault, right? You wouldn't think twice. Now put a yellow vest on that same stranger. Did the wrist grab become legal? No, it became a lawsuit, with his name printed on it. That's the flip. The exact moment he stops asking and starts forcing, without a real reason to believe you stole something, the guilty person in that scenario changes. It's not you anymore. It's him. Completely true. Also, completely insane that nobody tells you this. Also, completely useful. Because now you're the only person at that exit who knows where the line is. And the third thing he can't do? Demand your ID. In most states, you are not required to hand your driver's license to a store employee. He can ask. You can say no. He's not the DMV. He's a guy who works at a store that sells trampolines and rotisserie chicken. So let's go back to the doors. Because here's where it all comes together. And here's where most people lose without realizing a game was even being played. The trap is not the back room. The trap is consent. The guard's entire plan depends on speed and confidence. He's not confused about the law. He knows exactly how thin his power is. The strategy is to move fast and sound certain. Because if he can get you talking, walking, and unzipping before your brain catches up, he never has to admit the truth. And the truth is, calling the police is annoying. It takes time. It takes a stack of paperwork. For a $12 phone charger, it's not worth it. So the real goal was never an arrest. The real goal was your consent. Everything, the tone, the come with me, the handout for the bag, it's all engineered to get you to volunteer. Because the second you volunteer, none of his limits matter anymore. You opened the bag. You followed him. You handed over the ID. You gave away every protection you had, for free, because he asked in a confident voice. That's the con, not theft, theater. So here's how this scene actually ends now that you know the script. He steps in front of you. I need to see your bag. You don't run. Running looks like guilt, and it's a bad idea. You just stand there, calm, the most boring person he's stopped all week. And you say, if he says yes, you walk straight out the doors. Done. If he plants himself in your path, and he doesn't have a real reason to think you stole something, he just walked himself across the line, on camera, with his manager watching from across the floor. And now the only person in trouble is the one wearing the vest. One caveat worth saying out loud. These rules shift a little state to state, and a real reason to suspect you changes what he can do. So read the room, but know the room you're standing in. Here's the part I really want to land. You didn't need to be sneaky. You didn't need to be aggressive. You didn't need a lawyer standing next to you at the Walmart exit. You just needed to know that the power you felt in that moment, the certainty in his voice, the dread in your stomach, was manufactured. It was a feeling, not a law. Remember the short list? They can ask, call the police, and ban you. They usually can't search you, force you, or demand your ID. 6 things. That's the whole game. The guard was counting on you believing the costume. Now you know it's a costume. So here's what I'll leave you with. Next time you're at a store and you see someone get stopped at the door, watch how fast it happens. Watch the confidence. Watch how quickly an invitation starts to sound like an order. Drop a comment. Has store security ever stopped you and told you something you now realize they had no right to demand? I want to hear how that one played out, and what you'd do differently now that you know where the line actually is. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to leave a comment on what topic you'd like to see next. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to leave a comment on what topic you'd like to see next. Thanks for watching. So, what video do you want to see next? Drop it in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.